today is Emejuru.
This meeting is being recorded.
Jennifer. She is a broadcast journalist, a reporter, a writer, a television anchor, a media promoter, and a content creator. She presently works as a reporter on Nigerian Info FM and a television anchor on Wazobia Max TV. She acquired a BA in linguistics from the University of Port Harcourt, and today she's going to be discussing determining good news story ideas. You're welcome, Ma. It's lovely having you here.
Adobe, good evening. Good evening, everybody else.
Good evening, Ma.
That introduction, she's this, she's that. Please, it's Jennifer. Jennifer is fine. Jennifer Emejuru, you can say broadcast journalist is okay, but I don't like so many titles. So, yeah. Good evening. I can see about 8 persons here. Are we expecting more, Adobe?
Yes, ma'am, we are expecting more. I've told the class about the meeting, so I think everybody should be here by now.
How many are you guys in the class?
I don't know the actual number. I'm not certain about the actual number, but then let me update the class.
Okay, all right, let's just give them a few minutes now. So it's 5 for 5. At exactly 5, I'll start.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, so let's just give them 2 minutes. Let's see if they'll come up. Okay, so while we are waiting for them, we can actually get to know ourselves. Emeka Toyin, are you there? Emeka Toyin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so tell us how your day went. How was your day? What did you do today? Just in a bit, 30 seconds. So let's buy time for others.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Olisa Emeka Toyin.
How was your day? Hello? You have, I can't hear you.
I'm done with the introduction aspect. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. I didn't quite hear you. Anybody else? Which lady can I see here? Victoria, how was your day? Morris in Victoria. Let's strike a balance. 1 male, 1 female.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm doing great today. My day has been going on well since today.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for, keeping the date with us. Are we complete now? 15 persons. Okay, that's good enough. We can start the class, I guess. So.
Yes, ma'am. Start the class.
Hello, boss. Boss, this is Sammy, your boy. Can I say something, boss?
Yes, sir.
Let me apologize on behalf of all the students. I think it is wrong. No, not wrong. I think it is criminal for a lecturer to get into the room before the student. It is unheard of. So please, I take responsibility for this and I apologize, my boss. Are you going to forgive your boy, please?
My boss, sir. Anything, it's fine. Let's see if they will join us along the line. But it's okay, sir.
Let me see the person that will stop me from taking you out for lunch or dinner tomorrow. Nonsense. Let me see that person that will try it.
My boss, I'm loyal, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you. I think that is also going to serve as an introduction from our honorable boss and media mentor. I must say, he's not just for only those of you at the academy. I mean, those of us who are also out there. Oga Sami is also a mentor to all of us. So yes, good evening, and thank you once again for having me. So that will be on my way, but glad home. Let's see. My name is Jennifer Emejuru. I'm a broadcast journalist, and I'm still on the way to branching into other aspects of media and journalism, basically, mass communication. We're going to be discussing today. I'm not a teacher, so yeah, we'll be discussing. I do not have any, although I have my slides. I was able to send it across to Adobe because I couldn't join it with my laptop. So Adobe will be serving as our controller for today. Should be putting up the slides as we progress. Adobe, Abby? Adobe, are we together?
Yes, ma, we are.
Okay, so Adobe will be helping us put up slides as we progress. Okay. The topic says determining good news story ideas. But I think along the line, I wanted to change it, but since the topic I think along the line, I wanted to change it, but since the topic has been promoted. Since the topic had been promoted already. Oh wow, this is not gonna work. Can you hear me, Adobe? There's an echo. Hello,
I can
Adobe.
hear you.
Hello, Adobe.
I can hear you, ma.
Do you think this you sharing my slides from there while I speak, do you think it will work? Because I can hear myself and it's quite distracting. Do you think we can work that way, or let's just let it go? I'll just do the talking from here.
Hello, boss. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can I suggest something? Ada, can you share, or would you want to make the lecturer the host?
I would have done that, but she said she's not using a laptop to join the meeting.
Okay, boss, what works for you? Can Ada do that, or do you have any other alternative?
I was just suggesting that maybe I'll just proceed with the thing, and maybe later on she can share the slides to the members of the class, because everything I would say is actually there, but I'll be speaking to knowledge. So I just bulleted the bullet points, but I'll be speaking to the points that I need. So that's why I just wanted them to see the slides. But since we cannot
okay,
work
boss, if that works, no problem.
All right,
okay, if that works, fine. If that works, no problem.
All right. So Adobe.
Ma'am.
Okay, so I think we'll just go with that now. Let me just do the talking, and later on you can share the slides. I don't know.
Okay.
That we don't have that hold back. It's distracting. All right, so determining good news story ideas. I said along the line, I decided to, or I hoped that I could change the topic to determining great news story ideas, from good to great, because when you hear good, it sounds like a more religious good news. So I would have loved that we changed it to great news. So if you're taking down notes, you could change it to determining great news story ideas, please. So the topic should be determining great news story ideas. Thank you. Now that we are done and over with that one, I want to be sure that I'm not speaking to myself. Adobe, next slide, please.
We can hear you.
All right. All right, so my introductory page, I said the best problem to have as a writer, as a news writer, whether you're writing for radio, for television, for print, the best problem you would want to face in your life as a writer is having too many stories. So you say, I have a lot of stories and I cannot publish I don't have enough time, but I will set the ball rolling because I don't think I can exhaust everything. All right, I can't exhaust everything, but we can set the ball rolling today, and we'll see how we progress as time goes on. So we'll set the ball rolling on how people. To go back to the first slide. Yeah, we set the ball rolling for us all on the best approaches to writing news stories. Okay. And also developing news stories. So when you write, there's also something called developing a news story. There's something called writing. There are two different things. Although news is over the place, but it's often very fascinating when you hear people say, I am having a dry news day. Now, all of us, particularly those of you at the academy, I don't know the areas that you people want to specialize in, but after you would get into a lot of writings, a lot of readings, and for some people, a lot of talking. I mean, writing, if you are going to go to the newsroom as an editor, as a reporter, you can also do a lot of reading. I mean, everyone in the media industry gets to read a lot, and then a lot of talking if you are going primarily into programs. Okay, but one thing I would like to tell a lot of us today, and like I said when I was with the other session, the previous session before your session, I said I prefer to have people who are well-rounded, people who can do virtually everything in a media house. You can write the news, you can sort for the news, you can go on the field and get the story by yourself, you can conduct the interviews, you can read the news, you can edit the news, and you can also have a conversation on radio. That's the only time you can come and you tell me that you are a well-rounded journalist. But shockingly, or disappointed, most of us are disappointed that these days you just see people that want to be OAPs. They tell you that I want to be an OAP. I don't know what that thing means. I don't know where it came from. I want to just be an on-air presenter. So all people want to do is talk, talk, talk. And they really have nothing afterwards. So if you want to come out great after the period of time you spend at this academy, I would encourage us all to learn how to sort for the news as a reporter, learn how to write the news, learn how to edit the news. No company wants to hire just one person. They want to hire someone who can do virtually everything so they can save their money while getting the best of services. So you can do all of this, and you can also open the mic and talk. So if you can do all of this, I'm sure you can earn the title broadcast journalist and not an on-air presenter. But if you can do only talking, then stick to the on-air presenting. And I hope that works for you. So yeah, I said, although news is all over the place, in your household, your environment, your neighborhood, there's always something to make the news. But then you'll be surprised when people tell you that I'm having a dry news day. I don't have anything to write about. I don't have anything to talk about on the news. So that's why it's very important for people to understand how to avoid this. I put it in capital letter, how to avoid a dry news day, because it's the worst thing that can happen to you. The best problem you should have is too many stories and not enough space to publish your stories. All right, our second slide now. All right, now what news isn't? Usually what you're familiar with is what is news. People will tell you what is news, but I mean, I'm not here to tell you what is news. I'm here to tell you what news isn't, what is not news. What is not news is what I'm going to tell you now. News is man bites dog. Man bites dog. That is a headline. This thing I put in capital letter, man bites dog, it's a news. But if you keep hearing dog bites man, it's no news. It's a regular thing that happens. You're walking along the road, a dog just attacks you, bites you. I don't think I'm interested in that news, but I'm interested in a man biting a dog. So that is a summary of what news is. Now, what news isn't? News isn't that necessarily the day-to-day happening in your area, but news is the oddity, of a day when nothing happens in your area. You live on the streets every day, people are going to work, people are fighting and doing this. And a certain day you wake up and there is nobody on the road. Everywhere is dry. That is news. It's also the timely reports of odd happenings around you. And it's not just about publishing the news. The major point most of us like is when you see that your news is also able or is enough to make your audience make informed decisions. Now, for example, this slide is here now. If you look at the example I put there, I said, example, a weather forecast. Weather forecasts are always ignored until the day it says that there's going to be a tsunami in your neighborhood. Every day you listen to the weather forecast, you think these people are talking too much. But the day you hear that there's going to be a tsunami, there's going to be a torrential rainfall, there's going to be an earthquake, anything in your area, that becomes even more news to you. So news isn't the regular thing. News isn't a man is sleeping with his wife and whatever. News is a man has violated his daughter, a man has violated his son, or a mother has violated her daughter or her son. That actually is what news is. Now, there's a phrase I put under. Now, this is the hook. However, in recent times, journalists have begun to see good or positive happenings around as newsworthy events. I'm a victim of this one. When I started off, I used to think that it has to be bad news, but no. I started reporting good news. So if something good happens in the area, someone graduates with distinction, someone does something very good, exceptional, that also makes news. So this is actually the hook. In recent times, journalists have begun to see good or positive happenings around as newsworthy. All right, next slide, please, Adobe. All right, news determinants. Now, although news has evolved, making just anything to be published. When you graduate from your class, from your school, you get into different media houses. You hear the term news commercialization. Yeah, that is a recent evolution that is happening now amongst media houses. People begin to pay for news, even things that are not newsworthy, they will pay for it. So that's why you can hear people talk about a burial of a man of 50 years now making the news. So that's where news commercialization has crept into media. All right. So although news has evolved into making just anything published due to news commercialization, there are still some major determining factors that well-bred writers must consider when writing to stand out and not just depending on press releases and statements. So if you must stand out in the midst of 1,000 reporters, 1,000 writers out there, there are a few determiners that you might want to consider. I just listed 5. These are the 5 commonest. There are lots of them. And along the line, you will discover them. This is not even part of my class, but let's just set this background really. So here are some of the determining factors of news. We have oddity, we have proximity, we have prominence, we have conflict and timeliness. There are so many others. But for this purpose of this class, we're going to work with oddity. Like I said, dog bites man is not news, but man bites dog is news. That's oddity. Proximity, the closer the story is to the people, the more it makes sense. People are from Ogoni, they want to hear things happening around Ogoni. Don't go and tell them about things that are happening maybe in Kigali, Kenya, or go even internationally. They don't want to hear that. Then prominence also makes the news. The bigger the person, the more news it makes. It's a big man, it's a chief, it's a politician that did this, that squandered some money. That also makes the news. Conflict is also one. News is conflict. That's why you see that some media houses, you keep stylishly putting 2 heads against each other. Yeah, because the more the conflict, the more the news. So that's also a news determinant. And then timeliness, which is the most important of all of them. Your news has to be timely as much as possible. Your news must be timely. Don't give me something that happened last week. Come and tell me now without developing on the story. No. So yeah, these are the major news determinants, the commonest news determinants that you will come across. Next slide, please. All right. So, okay. Getting new stories now. A good writer sees a world full of story ideas. No organization is going to pay you for the work that you conceive, that you have in your mind. They only pay you for the actual work that you do. They're not going to pay you because, hey, Jennifer says she can do this. No. They'll pay you because Jennifer has done this. They'll pay you because Adobe has done this. Now, a news story is enough to make people grab a copy of your publication. You go to the newspaper stand, you see people, just the headline is catchy. They buy it, they read, they are smiling. Some of them are nodding in anger. Some of them are nodding in pleasure. That is what a news story is going to do to you. But a great news story idea should make your audience take a decision to either change or even change the narrative. So you will feel better when people read your story, and let's say you do a story about waste disposal, and after your story has been read in the whole of Port Harcourt, you notice that after your story has been read, people stop disposing trash indiscriminately. That is when you can pose, you can say, yeah, I have done a great news story. So a good news is just going to, or a news story rather, is just going to make people grab a copy, read, smile, and move on. But a great news story is going to make your audience change, take a decision to change, or even change the narrative. Now, there are three major secrets to getting news stories. There are three major secrets to getting news stories. All right. The first secret I would share with us, you have to be curious. You have to be curious. You have to be, people call it puck nosing. You know, you almost have to be a puck noser. You need to be curious. You need to ask questions about things that you do not understand. Have the nose for the news, and don't hesitate to compare and identify the differences when you observe them. Now, that is one thing that is going to help you even as a reporter or as a broadcast journalist. Now, talk to people. The second point there is again, is talk to people, especially those outside your field. Talk to people, especially those outside your field. I have a lot of friends that are not journalists. I have a lot of friends that are not media people, because you need to hear from people who are not in your field to know what is going on outside. Watch how people carry on their day-to-day activities. A lot of us here, we book Uber or Bolt or even the regular taxis. Ask questions, discuss with your Uber driver, discuss about general stuff or about things that concern their Uber transportation. That way you get to know what is happening, and that is a way you can develop a story idea. Recently, we heard that there has been a charge, about the 14,000 naira yearly compulsory tax that has been imposed on Uber and Bolt drivers in Rivers State. So until you interact with these drivers, that's when you can feel their plight. You can understand how they are taking this new development. Passengers on the bus, discuss with them. Hear what the conversations are. The traders in the market, when you go to buy things, you hear what they're saying. Are they talking about the tax force that are breaking their things, the tax force that are, extorting them? You hear from them. The security men in your neighborhood, you talk to them, they tell you about things. That's the way you can develop or even get great story idea. Church, school, any good. Then when you have done when you have your curiosity has led you to asking questions, that's talking to people, the next thing you should do is to research. Now, you research to get enough information about the subject matter. You don't want to be caught unprepared. You don't want to be caught unprepared and then you go dry on a single news report. That's the greatest shame of all times. Even if you are going to be an on-air presenter, you don't want to go on air and someone is telling you something, telling you what you do not know about. No. That is a big shame. So you try your best to research as much as possible. And of course, we say that A journalist should know something about everything, even if it's just a little paragraph. Just shall know that, okay, you say Nigeria now, the election, you're not exactly sure, but you know that we're going to be having our elections next year, 2023. You know that by this time next year, we should have been into a new government, something. You might not even know the political parties as they are, or all of them. You just know maybe a few, the 2 or 3 key players. So that's what we encourage journalists to know as much as possible. Also get a list of possible persons to be interviewed on a particular subject matter. All of this one will fall under your research. Now you also find out the level of work done and why. This will help you to know the places that you're going to cover up, the gaps, the lacunas that you're going to fill. Now, if along the line you meet a dead end, don't slack, don't be discouraged. You can sleep over it and try again. I always tell myself, like, I follow the lead wherever it goes. As long as it's not going to kill me, I will try to follow the lead. So there are always leads to stories. There are always things that will kill you to a story. You could be interviewing a market woman today, and she will tell you that, Madam, how much is this fish? This fish, would they buy on 5,000 naira now? Sorry, I have to switch a little. Would they buy on 5,000 naira now? Before, would they buy on 3,000 naira? You ask her why. She tells you, now because of no light, so people they keep them for cool room, say food don't increase. People they bring them from inside seaport or wherever they get it from, say they pay plenty tax. That is a cue to your story. That's the lead. So when you're done with the woman, that sentence alone should lead you to a cold room to find out truly how much do you spend on petrol in keeping this fish or chicken. All right. You finish from there. You also visit maybe the petroleum, the DPR, petroleum resources, or any unit around to find out if truly this thing is what is really going on, and that's what is affecting the price of things. So yeah, that's that for these 3 tips: being curious, talking to people, and researching. Now let's go now to the next slide, Adobe. Okay, so whether hard or soft news, like we call it, whether you want to go in as a Cool FM presenter, or for example, or a Nigerian info presenter, or want to aspire to CNN or to the HIP TVs, whichever one. It is only when certain things have been done that one can say, yes, you're ready to start approaching news writing. Until you have done certain things, you can now say, I am ready. You see this work, I am ready. Now, generating news ideas could be complex and simple. It can be draining and satisfying, especially when your news makes it to the national or international arena of conversations. That's when you really feel the joy in your heart that, my story is what they're talking about nationally or even in the States. So it's a good and draining exercise, I must tell you, but the result is really fulfilling. Now, it should be a thing of note that not everyone who works in a media outfit have the ability to identify news, but everyone who can identify news can be in a media outfit. So not everyone you see, I work here, not all of them have the nose for the news. But so long as you have the nose for the news, then you can fit into just any media outfit. Now, let's now go into the ways to source for your news story ideas. I have about 12 of them, so we'll just rush through them one by one, and then we can take questions. But if you have questions and you don't want to forget them, please keep them in the chat box. I'm going to take them as we progress. So please, if you have questions, just type it there. If you're missing a point, if I'm too fast, you type it there. I would always come back. I happen to be a very fast talker, but I can come back if you want to. All right. the ways to solve. I did not quite understand what he meant by think on your toes. I said, what am I thinking on my toes for? Until he really broke it down. And yeah, that was really helpful. So thinking on your toes, thinking out of the box. You always need to be that you're always on the spot. If you're a media man or woman, or a journalist, broadcast journalist, or even an OAB. So try to think out of the box and look beyond what people's own fresh news story ideas. All right, yes, that is one way that you can. If others are doing this, you can want to do something different. Remember that oddity makes the news. So if everyone in your organization, they are writing a certain way about a certain man, a certain politician, you might want to dig deeper to find out the other parts of this man. All right, you might want to go further and just create something out of the regular buzz that everyone is already creating. Now, the second thing you also have to do, remember, I put this thing in this order. You can take any order that you like. The second thing, creating a niche for yourself. Creating a niche for yourself. This is also very important. And creating a niche is what we in the industry will call having a beat. I don't know if you've heard what we call news beats before. Has anyone heard the word news beats? Do we know what it means to have a beat? B-E-A-T. All right. Tell us, Kenneth West, what does it mean to have a beat, please? Thank you.
Okay, a news beat, it's, a place where, as a journalist, you gather or report your news on a daily basis. Maybe it has been assigned to you to go there to report or to gather news. Thank you.
Interesting. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. He said it all. And that's why I said we are not in the classroom. And I think that if I'm a lecturer tomorrow, I'll be a great lecturer. See, I've given you the notes ahead of time. So it's possible to even read and develop different ways to explain things. So yes, creating a niche, like Kenneth said, is a unique area where you think you can speak authoritatively from. I think, Kenneth, you should bring down your hands. You can speak authoritatively from this beat. So it's very important for you to create a niche. It's very key, especially if you want to be a journalist who is well-rounded in a particular area. Now you can help, this can help you build a directory of persons in your line. So imagine you want to go into education as a beat and you have focused on education for a long time, all the educational programs in River State or outside. You have a number of the commissioner, schools board, lecturers, educationists, both in primary, secondary, university levels, professors, you know about educational economists, you know about education. It makes you well-rounded, all right? So there are different areas that you can want to create a niche. There's education, we have agriculture, we have health, we have women and girls, we have community development, we have aviation, name it. You can even want to do something very, very, very small. You can choose something very small and just enjoy your small space until the recognition comes to you. And by the way, there's nothing small in the media. Okay, there's nothing small. Joy Pilot, could you please turn off your mic so that we do not have interference? Thank you. All right, so by the way, there's nothing small in the media. Everything is big, but it's also possible for you to get a seemingly not too elaborate beat so that you can properly manage it. Now, when you have done that, remember that creating a niche is about your passionate areas. So write on your safe or passionate areas. Everyone has a passion. I have a passion. I have a passion for women and children. I have a passion for community. Yeah. I have a passion for people say feminism and all of that, but that's not it. Basically, women and children. I also have a passion for health. So you can have a passionate area, write on that passionate area. Don't let anyone pressure you into writing about something you do not know, although it's already embarrassing that you don't know about an area, but don't even let anybody to coerce you into writing. Now, the easiest way to break into the writing space is by writing on things that you are passionate about. So that is very important. Another way for you to source for new story ideas, personal or single stories. This is key. I mean, this is where we say in local parlor, this is where it finish work. Do you understand? Personal or single stories. If you want to create a good news story idea, then go for single stories. Let me give you an example. Again, I've used this example before. I'll use it again. I use it in this former class. I'll use it again now. Remember when there was a stampede in River State, right? When a church had a stampede, and about 30-something persons died at that event. As a journalist, as a reporter, the way you can report that story when we are done breaking the news, you can do a single story. You could want to visit a family that you hear that was affected by that stampede and hear from them directly. Now, a family that used to be a family of 5, but now they have been shortened by 1. They're now a family of 4. You start off with such a lead, like such a lead. The family of 5, now family of 4. Do you understand? And then other things will follow. Who lost their first or second or last son to the stampede at Polo Club organized by so and so. So that's what single story does. Single stories too can always give you the recognition that you want. Is the easiest way for you to lead a conversation. Imagine mirroring the plight of a family to the whole world. Or you can do something, the example I stated there. You can want to mirror the plight of an average Nigerian nurse who is on a night shift at a government hospital. I mean, that one, all of us know what happens now. No light, no water, mosquitoes. Imagine doing a single story about a nurse, how she wakes up, she goes to work, how she needs to come with socks and mosquito nets, and there's no light, and then she sleeps in discomfort, or sometimes she needs to attend to patients, and at the end of the day, she wakes up in the morning, there's still no water for her to wash her face, there's no water for her to clean up, even when she's on her monthly flow. So many things like this. Imagine pitching a story like this and putting it out. Even your country might have to beg you. We're like, that's why people don't like some media outfit, because we paint the single story factor. And when you paint it, they are very defensive. They want to defend it, but it's the truth. These things are happening. You go to the hospitals, these things are happening. So when we take out the story of a man who says, okay, my father's dead body that was deposited at a morgue, before we came back the following day, rats have eaten his legs. And then they start calling, how can you carry such a story? Well, that is what is going on. So that's what single story does. You see, when you write a single report, I don't know, it's one person, but it has more impact. Now, another way where a single report has really done it for me was during the COVID-19 pandemic. I did a single story of people. I do not bother about what they are saying, the rates, the number of infections and the rest of them. I did a single story of how people at the waterside, the slums, how are they coping with the pandemic? And I know how many both past and present government officials reached out to me, even on Facebook, where I didn't even know it was popping there. Some people sent messages. I saw messages 6 months later. People are saying, please take down that thing. We are going to work on it. We're going to make sure that thing doesn't continue, because people were not washing their hands. People were not observing the social distance. They are disturbing me because you think I live in a blockhouse. So single stories are ways that you can always achieve or draw attention to your work. I encourage you after today, please, if you must write, when they have finished making the boards, you can want to try single stories. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, now watch and monitor other news outlets or other news channels. Don't be a Sabinus, okay? Don't say, I know it all. That is a way to die. That is the fastest way for you to grow cold. Watch, listen, read other media outlets. That's the only way you can observe the gaps that they have. If you do not observe the gaps, then you won't even know how to tackle or how to approach your own. So I encourage you to watch, monitor, and see what others are doing that you can leverage on. They could do a news and then you know that these people don't do this news well. And the following day, you're taking the news, you're taking it well. You have attracted more listeners to your station. It's not a competition, but it's a competition. Okay, so watch, monitor other news channels. Like I said here, do not be in the habit of listening to just a channel. See what others are doing, and then you dare to be different. Don't go and copy them verbatim. Let me send you, all right? I didn't ask you to do that. Don't copy them verbatim, but you can see what they are doing. They can even take a single story, all right? And then you'll be like, okay, oh, wow, they've taken it from this angle. Okay, Ogoni people are talking about their water, bad water, UNEP reports. They've taken it from this angle. How about you visit the hospitals to see if maybe people are falling ill because of, this bad water in Ogoni land, or the crops that are not growing. So what's the plight of the people? Just something different. It's really not easy, but it is worth it. Honestly, I am still in the process of getting it all done. We'll all get it one day. We may not get it, but let's just be sure that at least we put in the efforts that needed to be put in. All right. Another way you can also you can get news stories, international days. If you look at the UN calendar, you can just Google United Nations International Day. That is a way that you can cash out on great news story ideas. There are international days for water. There are international days for rural women, international day for girls in science, women and girls. You can leverage on such international days and build your story. Once you leverage on it, it has a way of also calling their attention to you. I did one recently about open defecation in Dio, and it was, I'm going to tell you that as well. Honestly, if you do things like that and then you tie it to something, you do stuff like that, you tie it to something, people will understand that, oh, wow, there's a relevance for this thing. But if you just see the international days and you move on, it may and it may not make sense. So if you want to make your news stories worthy, try as much as possible to tie them to some international days. It's not compulsory, but it's worth the try. Then I put examples there. So example, you can write on International Water Day. That's if you're a community development reporter. You can also write on International Widows Day if you're a woman and girl child reporter. You can do that. Then another point you might have to consider when developing great story ideas, localize your stories. Localize your stories. Please localize your stories. I know some media outfits in Port Harcourt that don't localize their stories, and it is so shameful. You carry something straight from Serap. Serap said this, Serap said that. You put it there and there's no way to step it down. You can localize your story on your news item. You also have the power holding, PHED, right? Or they have the Transmitters Company of Nigeria, TCN. They put out a statement of there won't be power supply for the next 2 weeks. And you just carry it like that, verbatim, and you drop it for a woman that stays around maybe Emohwa. How about you try to localize it? You come down, you step down to the River State angle, you visit TCN in River State. Sir, tell us how this thing is going to affect us. All right, tell us how this is going to affect us. How is it going to affect businesses in Emohwa? That way, people will feel like you have them at heart. So that's another thing about, remember I talked about proximity. Even national and global issues can be discussed in a way that it is brought closer to the audience. All right, so try as much as possible to speak to your audience, don't speak at them. Speak in a way that they know that you have them at heart. All right, you write in a way that they know that, this person is writing about my backyard. Imagine a woman hearing her community on the radio. She's going to stop and listen. All right, but if she keeps hearing Abuja, Lagos, Kaduna, Sapele, those things are far away from her, she may not listen. So localizing your news story is one great way that you can develop or determine a news idea. Okay, all right, I'm seeing the questions. I'll answer them any moment. Then you can also write on discoveries. You can write on discoveries. You can write on viruses when they break. I'm not praying for anyone, but it will definitely break. You can write on when the COVID-19 virus broke, you could write on it at that time. You can write on a monkeypox report. You can write on polio, although we have kicked it out, I hear. You can write on measles, right? You can write on, viruses as they break. You can also write on artificial intelligence, okay? AI, it's something that is going to take our jobs very soon. So you can begin to write on them. Write on things like this. People want to hear, they want to see through your eyes. How do you see this thing? Is it good or bad? Economists will tell you that it's good because they'll save more money. They don't have to hire plenty bankers anymore. They don't have to hire plenty bankers anymore. Because you have to be what's happening to my network? And then yeah. So the next slide. Okay, thank you, Adobe. I think we're ready.
But sorry to interject. It breaks. Boss, can you hear me? This is Sammy.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm very sorry to interject because I'm actually enjoying. Okay, fantastic. I say I'm very sorry to interject because I'm loving the lecture network. I want to make a suggestion. Breaks my heart to make it, but can we disable your video? Breaks my heart because you're so beautiful, and I always love looking at your beautiful face. But I'm thinking whether the video, maybe it's affecting the bandwidth. I don't know. Class captain, I don't know. I want to see your face. I love the lecture. I love what's going on, but just so we communicate better. I don't know. But it's between you and the class captain. Just a suggestion from my end.
Are you saying you have been seeing my face since?
Of course, everybody has been seeing your beautiful face. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes,
I thought it was the slide you were seeing. Oh my word. Jesus.
One of the male students was actually saying he wants to propose to you. I told him he doesn't have money. He should work.
I beg, oh, please, oh. I am high maintenance. So I didn't know you guys could see my face. Oh my word. I thought I was just speaking through these slides. All right, we can disable my video then. Ada, please.
No, you can disable from your end.
Okay,
you just
then.
touch the start video part. Yeah, brilliant.
Okay. Yeah, I have. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. I honestly thought you couldn't see me.
Why would you apologize for such a wonderful thing?
Okay.
In fact, after this class, we'll have a video call. Thank you very much.
Okay. Follow up on news stories. Okay, that's the news stories. Is always.
Are we permitted to say something?
Your
No,
boss
don't say anything. You're a jealous person. Don't say anything, please. Thank you.
Okay, Sammy, please allow her now.
She's a very jealous person. Oh yeah, talk. Let us hear.
We are waiting for you. Go ahead.
Oris, go ahead. We can hear you. Okay, maybe network issue from my end.
Okay.
Lecturer, you can go ahead, please.
All right, sir. Okay. So yeah, the next point we have on our screen is follow up on your stories. Follow up on your stories. You see, because news is fast-paced, or media generally. But mind you, I sound this way because I am more of a talk station I say hard news reporter. Okay. Yeah, so that's why it's like news. But when I say news here, it cuts across both those of you who are in sports, who are in entertainment, and yeah, if you want to also go into hardcore journalism, it's also fine. So when I mean writing and news, it's for everybody. You just find the way it suits you and then take them as it concerns you, and then you proceed. Now, when I say follow up on your stories, many news writers, we fail to follow up because we want to keep up with the news. News is very fast-paced. The news that happened now, the next minute is over. It's over. Next thing is happening. So it's not easy to keep up to speed with all of these things. So that's why you hear people or you notice that some stories die a natural death when they shouldn't really die. So it's advisable that when you're struggling, when you're trying to get a new story idea, you can follow up on your stories. That is a way to keep your story, first of all, relevant, and for you to also keep brainstorming. All right. The fast-paced nature of news is responsible for this, because we want to either meet up to time, space, or even speed. Space, I mean, for the people who have to publish on the newspapers and magazines or newsletters. That's for space. And then for time, if you're on radio or television, you're pressed for time. Everything is timed. Everything is timed. And then also speed. Okay, so those are the things that are actually responsible. But it's very important that previous reports should be visited to see if anything has changed or something has been added. Because sometimes there can be an oversight. So revisiting topics would really help you. It also helps to examine what areas were not properly handled. So when you revisit a story, you see that, this story, I for take them like this. We in the industry, we call it rehatching. You can rehatch a story that has gone already. You go and rehatch it. And then you now say, recall that. You hear that thing usually, right? That is a way of rehatching a story. We can recall you to something that happened last year. That's because we are on a story. We are following up on a story. You can also follow up on your single reports. So for the family that lost a child due to the fire incident, you visit them again a year later to find out how they are faring. Have they moved on? Are they still pained? All right. Are they paying that maybe the government that promised them compensation? Okay, for example, we have flyovers all around the city, and there are promises of compensation. And then you hear later that the compensations were not paid. All right. So a year later, 1 or 2 years later, or 6 months later, you go back to visit these families to find out how they're faring now that their houses have been demolished with no commensurate compensation. How are they faring? So that is something that you can do when you follow up your news stories. It's very, very important. It's also one way that has kept a lot of us going every day. Try to get reactions to your stories. Reactions are also very important. Reactions also work hand in gloves with localizing your story. All right. So something happens in Abuja, go and get reactions from Port Harcourt or Rivers APC, Labour Party, whatever, AAC, as the news may happen. Just go and hear from their local representatives. All right. You let people in those professional areas, let the authorities to speak on these issues that you're writing on or the ones that you're about to write. It's very important. And then we have the vox pop. Vox pop. Some people call it voice pop. I beg name. I use God name, beg you rather. My legs are on the ground. I beg, don't call it voice pop. If I have a media outfit and you are to be hired and you call it voice pop, you're going home. So it's not a voice pop, it's called a vox pop. It's actually translated to mean voice of God. All right, voice of the people.
Hello, lecturer.
Yes, sir.
I actually wanted to go and do voice pop tomorrow.
So I'll join you on this voice pop. I will hold the midget for you and your voice pop people will talk.
I want my voice to pop, please. Thank you.
You see, Oga Sammy is laughing at the person that will call it voice pop. Anybody that calls it voice pop, Oga Sammy, please withdraw pay them, give them back their money and then go back home. I beg.
Let me just add, for those who know Latin, you can check it out. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. I usually talk about this on radio. The voice of the people is the voice of God. So that's what our lecturer is talking about. So she's spot on. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so please don't ignore them. Don't ignore the voice of the people. That's a way to get new story ideas. I've done a special report one time where I had only 2 authority voices speak, but most of the persons that spoke, I got them along the road. We are commoners. I had a vox pop, and it was so rich. It was one of the richest I've done. Other than following one big guy, bottom bum all over the place, calling him and he's posting me. I just went on the streets and I've asked a few persons. They referred to this place. You ask here. So you go to the company. You can even do a vox pop among company networkers. All right, so you go to the petroleum industry or the fuel stations talking about maybe issues around petrol scarcity. You can have a vox pop with owners of petrol stations. That's also very possible. Then another way that I discovered this one lately, another way you can also get news story idea is by interviewing the oldest and the youngest. When you're able to interview the oldest and the youngest, then you can strike a balance. You can know what exactly you're doing. You can understand the standpoint you're speaking from. Are you speaking from the oldest standpoint or from the youngest standpoint? It's very important. And then, most importantly, Biko, you guys have to read. We have to read. Read old books. Anything you see, you have to read. Everything is news. Depends on how you approach it. All right. You read, you read, you read. You keep notes and then you listen more. You listen more on the bus. Don't be the one that is driving the conversation. Listen more to people. That's the way you can develop new stories. But if you're the one driving all the conversations, then we might have a problem. All right. And then there's this line that we have. And let me also say here, remember, in everything I have said, once you're in doubt, when in doubt, okay, sorry about the mistake. When in doubt, there's actually one when in doubt, so you take off one. When in doubt, please leave out. If you have any, I'm not sure, please leave out so that you do not get yourself into legal issues, litigations, and so many other legal issues that say you have gone to spoil my name, you're tarnishing my image. All right, there's libel, there's litigation. Just try. Where you're in doubt, please, please, please leave out. It's very important that you leave out. And then I'm going to end here. Remember, this is not all the tips, but this is like I've spoken for 1 hour because you guys have to talk. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Ogasami, and I'd like to see you again. So yes, this is pretty much what we'll be having today. Having said that, it's over to the class now. Our questions. Thank you.
Is Ada there? Okay, let's assume
Yes,
Ada is
sir.
not there. Okay, Ada, go ahead, please.
Welcome.
Yeah. So guys, please, if you have any question, please raise your hand so you'll be called out. Okay, Ma,
Okay,
there is
Ada.
a question in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm just seeing the questions. Okay, Toye, Emeka Toye. Okay. This is from Saeed Olakinya. He says, thank you for your lecture. We really appreciate your simplicity on the topic. Thank you. What are the qualities of a great news story? I hope we should have seen it already now. The qualities of a great news story, it has to be timely. Determinants are the qualities. It has to be timely. It has to have some sort of conflict in it so that you do not go dry and boring. You also need to be sure that it is close to the people. If it's not close to people, I don't think that should even make it to your basket of news, unless you're ready to make it, to localize it. All right. Those are some of the qualities of a news story. And I talked about proximity, right? That is also there. And then balance. Let me even add balance. Balance is also very key in you writing your news story. A news item that lacks no balance, that is not news. You hear from one side, you should be able to hear from the other side. All right. The qualities are enormous. I must tell you, the qualities are enormous, but it is primarily the oddity. The more odd a news item is or a news story is, the more relevant it is. It's not like we are not advocates of good news, but even if you have to be good, then it has to be oddly good. Like someone graduating from school with a distinction and presenting one of the best valedictory lectures. That is a good one. However, if someone graduates with distinction and then it's time to present a valedictory speech and you are a mess, I'm sorry, we'll still carry because it's still odd news. So oddity, basically, that's why I say there can be an oddly good story and then there can be completely odd stories. And then, yeah, those are some of the features, some of the things that should determine or that would always pass as qualities of a great news story idea. So yeah, if it's not also fresh, if it doesn't have a human angle to to the story, it might have a little struggle here and there. But so human angles are also very, very good qualities to look out for to have a great news story idea. Remember, I said we're not just talking about news stories, talking about great ones, the ones that will earn us the Pulitzer, the ones that will earn us awards, that will earn us grants, the ones that would earn us, just something resounding, not just those ones that any other person can do. John Peters says, can single stories be termed investigative journalism? From your explanation, is there any danger attached to it? Why are most media houses allergic to investigative journalism? Oh, well, investigative journalism and single story, and pari passu, hand in gloves. See, investigative journalism is not like media houses are scared, but I'm sure you've learned about he who pays the piper, right, dictates the tune, especially in this part of the world where we have problem with media ownership. We say that the media, we are the watchdog, but then there's a question that follows: who owns the dog? So if I'm a watchdog and I have an owner, and then my owner is the one that is constituting this nuisance, do you think I'm going to write? Sometimes you want to write and then you have to allow that story die because it won't fly. So yeah, I'm actually answering why most media houses are allergic to investigative journalism. This could be one of the factors. Media ownership is a major factor, is a major, major, major factor. Or even persons who partner with you. I'm not going to spell this out, but there are some commercials or some programs that are paid on some media houses. And then even the media house, they know that, these multinationals are not doing well. But because they pay, he who pays the piper will always take them. You allow them have a field day, and then later on, you find a balance to it. So yeah, that might be one of the problems why people are allergic to investigative journalism. And then can single stories be termed investigative journalism? I would say a yes and a no at the same time. A yes, because for investigative journalism, you're trying to, again, push people from a point A to a point B. You're trying to reveal what people do not know, right? You're trying to reveal the direct implications of some of the decisions our governments are making, all right? So yes, that's what I'm going to say, yes. But I would say no, because a single story could also be that bad. A single story could be, it could be something good. It could be something that people already know, but they just wanted someone to speak up about it. All right. They already know that this family that lost their children to, what do I call that? Maybe, I don't want to say plane crash, God forbid. All right. That lost their children to a fire, right? Or that lost their children to a demolition exercise or to a stampede. People already know that family is not going to have a field day. They are not happy. But you are just bringing it out. But for investigative journalism, we don't know at all. I don't know if you get my point. Investigative, you're bringing out what people have never heard. But for personal story, you're just mirroring their lives to a greater public. And I'm going to answer the second question here, which is the last question I'll take from you. It says, from your explanation, is there any danger attached to it? Yes, there are dangers attached to investigative journalism. You could get killed. Honestly, you could get killed. You could get life threats. You could get killed in the process. Yeah, if the people don't like you and you are revealing so much, they could kill you so that you can shut up. And then there's also another danger on if you have to go for personal stories. Personal single story. Some people might be hostile to you. Hostile in the sense that they do not want you to come and they think you're going to make money. I remember when I did a documentary in Ogoni land, I was talking to the widows of the Ogoni 9, the ones that are surviving. And a lot of them didn't want to talk to us because they felt, we have collected money from somewhere and want to use their experience to make money. So they thought we were exploiting their grief. You get? So they were a little hostile to us. It took a lot of petting, begging, coercing before they could begin to speak up. So that's how much people are hostile and some of the dangers that you might face. For investigative journalism, remember, you might get killed, you might get life threats, your family member can be adopted and they'll tell you kill the story or die. It's left for you to choose. All right. Emeka Tonye is asking, please, Ma, talking about proximity, does it mean you have to report happenings in that geographical area alone? Oh, well, yes. As much as possible, you must reflect what is happening in the area. You must. It's not like it's alone. Listen to the news sometimes. Imagine if all the news that you hear are from Lagos, Abuja. There's none from River State. Won't you feel like there's something wrong? Only you go ask, I mean, nothing happened for River State today. So yeah, proximity is very key. It doesn't limit you to just a geographical area, but it helps you to gain the trust of your people. And I'm not a champion. People mistake this for being a local champion. No, you could do a news in your area, like this single story I'm talking about now. It's not proximity. I'm in Port Harcourt now. Will I go and interview someone that is in Sapele? Is there somebody here? And then I put it out there, and then my region is getting the recognition that it needs. So yes, so it's about putting yourself out there, and it doesn't limit you. I do not really think it's limiting. All right, I do not think it's limiting. Proximity makes the news all the time. All right, maybe we'll have someone else to also, maybe Ogasami will also add up to this one, if it's limited to just the geographical area alone. Ogasami, are you there? Would you want to add to this?
Yes, I am. Proximity, it has to do with closeness to where you are. Okay, I'm at home now, and I was looking at something I tweeted earlier today. I tweeted about it and I totally forgot about it. I went to see the number of engagement and I was blown away. So many retweets, so many likes, and so many comments. What was that tweet about? It was about Ozo. I spoke to Ozo today, the Big Brother Niger guy. We're friends,
Okay.
and he agreed to lecture us. And I put it up on Twitter, and the thing is virtually going viral. I can see the retweets, the likes. Now, yesterday, I put up a tweet on Michael Buffer. Now, in terms of the number of years put into the profession, in terms of fame on a global stage, in terms of money in the bank accounts, no disrespect to anybody, but Ozo cannot compare to Michael Buffer, who is world famous, internationally acclaimed. But the tweet I put up on Michael Buffer last night didn't even get 1/10 of the engagement that the Ozo tweet that I put up 4 hours ago got. That's because Ozo is closer to us here in Niger.
Yes.
The Nigerians can relate to Ozo, so that's proximity. A lot of Nigerians see as Michael Buffer, but they don't really know him. They can't really connect with him. So that's what our lecturer is talking about. Proximity is quite important because it is close to you. You can relate to it, and the effect is quite huge, enormous to say the least. I don't know if I shed any light on
you have
what you're
finished
talking
work.
about.
You have finished
Okay,
work. That example.
I will send my account details to you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yes, sir, you have finished work. That is everything you need to know about proximity. Honestly, that is everything you need to know about proximity. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Fortune Bestman is asking, can you throw more light on localizing your story, and how can single story draw attention to your work? I don't know if you were not following completely. I use myself as example. I said I did a documentary, which is still out there, and it drew attention to my work. People have been doing reports. People have been doing a lot of reports. In fact, I put out reports every now and then. People don't watch it. They don't even pay attention to it. But this one drew the needed attention. In fact, someone who is now a commissioner at the time, although I missed his message, called me and said, please, I want to visit that area. I have some relief items to give to those people. 2 religious bodies and NGOs. We went back there. We gave them items worth millions because people do not understand the gravity of the pandemic and how people were living their lives in those areas. So a single story can draw attention to your work and even other works that you have to do. All right. If you're doing the Jamboree reporting, you may just be tagged as one of those reporters. But if people know you for someone who has a heart-to-heart conversation, you watch Amanpo, right? Watch CNN, watch the BBC. when this Ukraine war started, you saw people, most of the reporters, asking one-on-one, wanting to find out, this woman now, how are you going to cope now that there's a war? What are you doing? They're asking personal questions. So that's what a single story does. It draws almost all the attention that you need to yourself. And then, can you throw more light on localizing your story? Localizing your story means bringing it back home. It's still the proximity thing that we talked about, right? It still has a lot to do with proximity. A story that happens that happened internationally. Well, you could go for an international story. For those of you who are sports guys, there could be a game that has been played. Maybe say Leicester City and Chelsea, Leicester City, Arsenal, Leicester City, any other club. Okay, there are some technicalities that you notice that might stand out very well, and then you notice that along the line, maybe later on, somebody or the same thing plays out in a local football. I'm just stating, I'm not a sports person, but I'm just using my head now to say this is how it should be. And something happens in a local football. There's nothing wrong if you tie these two things together. You set an example. It happened previously here. So maybe this young man watched when Leicester City played and how it was played, and something like that just happened. That's what I think about sports. But about general news writing, it's about bringing it closer to your people. I use the NEPA issue as an example. I said, there's no light, or there won't be light in Nigeria. And why not tell me how me that is staying at Rumubiakani, how it's going to affect me? Okay? Am I going to be affected? You speak to people around. So now there won't be light. What are you going to do? You find out what are the alternatives that we need? Petrol, diesel. What are the prices of these things? These things are hardly affordable. So that's one way that you can localize your story. All right? It's like stepping it down. It's a high tension. Then you bring it down so that people can properly understand. Victor Harrison, thank you for a wonderful lecture, Lantana. Thank you so much. Morrison Victoria says, in a case where someone is in Nigeria reporting a news happening in China based on your audience, will it be counted as proximity based on your audience are Chinese? You are in Nigeria and you're reporting for China. Is that so? Let me understand. Are you reporting what is happening in Nigeria to the Chinese government, or you are in Nigeria and you're reporting Chinese news to China people, to Chinese? And let me get your question well, Morris Victoria. I'd like to really understand. Are you saying that you are a correspondent for a Chinese media outfit here in Nigeria, or you want to stay in Nigeria? I want to report what's happening in China for the Chinese. Is that a question? Just say yes or a no. But however be the case, I do not really see that as a challenge. If you want to stay in Nigeria and you report to the Chinese, what is happening in Nigeria, that is very true. That is legendary. That's the prayer of everybody, to stay here and tell them what is happening over there. That is true. But I do not see you staying in Nigeria and reporting China to Chinese. I really don't think that is feasible. I hope I got your question well anyways. We're waiting for your response, Morris and Victoria. So far, so good. Those are the questions that we have. Maybe someone wants to speak and ask a question. We are still waiting for Morris, Victoria to explain better. Any other questions?
John Peters, your hand is up. Please ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much, our madam, for that exhaustive explanation, especially to my questions. It was well detailed in explanation. Thank you very much. Please pardon me.
John, leave English, send money. Leave English, send money. Oh, yeah,
Pardon
thank you
your
for
voice,
your attention. Send money. Yeah, thank you. Exhaustive. What's that? Oh, fake.
I'll be your boy. Thank you, sir. Okay, please, I have two questions. I'm talking about news commercialization. Last year, when we were on this training, we got a lecturer from outside the country. Pardon me, I've forgotten the name of that lecturer. He talked about press conferencing. And in the lecture, he told us that there are places to go to when they have press conference. The journalists come in, all those that are expected will come in. Everything is done, and no 1 naira is paid. No kobo is paid. And we asked, how possible could that be? And he said that that is what is going on. But from what we hear today about this news commercialization, Madam, why is that being a practice here that news must be commercialized? I'm not talking in terms of promoting businesses and all that. This is political season, and so many news will be coming up. Why must this news be commercialized instead of just passing information to the public? That is one. Two, please, what's the difference between soft and hard news? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. You see, when I mentioned news, okay, I think Morrison has explained. All right, let's just take this one that is still fresh in our minds so that we don't forget. Okay, we'll come back to Victoria's question later. When I talked about news commercialization, I knew that that is not even going to be the basis for our conversation, but I really needed to put it there. I wanted to set the background. Okay, so why I think news commercialization is a thing here in Nigeria. I'm sure the person that spoke to you was a foreigner, Abi. Well, they brought it here, and we have a Nigerianness to us. And that is the reason why you keep hearing you have to pay for news, you have to pay for news. Another reason could be because we need to make it newsworthy. Get my point. Where I mentioned news commercialization was around, I think, qualities of news or so. I said for news commercialization, why we do that, why most media outfits consider it, because sometimes people bring things that are not entirely newsworthy. A 50-year-old man has died, understand? And then they want you to put it in the news. It is not news. So now the media houses have seen that, okay, people want to be heard for even the most irrelevant issues. So why not you pay for it? It's actually not a good practice. It's not a global best standard, I must tell you. But that is what is happening here in Nigeria. Then for the political parties having to pay, well, that one too is not a global best practice, but it keeps happening. And some people have argued that, I mean, the media outfits, they have bills to pay, they have diesel to run, they have diesel to run their generator sets, you know, they have salaries to be paid, they have so many things to do. So why don't you pay for the ones that may not really be resounding, because they now have to add the news touch to it. They have to do the finishing work to make it worthy of being aired. That is actually why it's common here. And then we have some of us, when we go out for a report, we call them the media by media people. They are people who, they're not really affiliated to any particular medium, but they are at all the press conferences and they are waiting. But the way they leave, for such people, this class is not going to make sense to them, because they'll ask you, so how am I going to make money from a personal story or from a single story? They don't care about that. They care about the press releases. They care about the press statements, because you pay some amount for those things to be aired on their different channels. Well, I must also commend some of the media outfits that I hear that do not commercialize their news stories. They don't commercialize it. But for the ones who do, I'm not going to hold brief for any of them. It is a wrong practice. It's not global best practice, but you get into the industry and you would face it. Now, professionalism comes into play. How you handle your paid news items also. I would also tune in or tune off your listeners. If they keep hearing that every news item, if I listen to a radio station, I know the stories that can most likely have been paid for and the ones that are free, that are not paid for, you know. So professionalism rather should come into play, even while you're handling, you know, news commercialization. I don't know how to hold brief for anybody.
Sorry, Sammy here. Can I just add to what you're saying, please?
Please go ahead.
Okay, brilliant. I implicitly totally agree with everything you're saying. You've made a lot of sense, and I just want to add briefly, with your permission. The reason why a lot of radio stations commercialize their stories is not far-fetched. I'm a management staff of 3 radio stations: Beat FM, Classic FM, Niger FM. We I shouldn't be saying this in public, but like I said in my briefing yesterday, we're family, and in this training, you're going to find out the inner workings of radio, reality, not what they pad. I want to tell you how it works. We have meetings, management, and we say, look, these are commercial radio stations. The economy of Nigeria is not friendly. Light no day. So we spend money. Money is running into millions of naira every month just to keep the stations running. From a power perspective. We'll have to go and buy diesel. We have to ensure that the generators are up and running. Staff salaries have to be paid. Where I work, Beat FM, Classic FM, Niger FM, I've been working here for over 5 years. Not even once have salaries been owed, not even for 24 hours. They pay salaries on the last day. As a matter of fact, nobody should send me account details. So I was paid my salary for September yesterday. Yesterday was 30th to 31st. Today is 1st of September. I was paid my salary. Yet it will never go into, so it takes running a private radio station, for instance, it costs a lot of money. So the stations will have to look for a way to recoup these funds. I'm just using the stations I work for as a case study. However, as members of the fourth estate of the realm, we need to understand that our primary duty is to serve the people. Yes, there's a need to make money, but there's also the need to balance your stories. Like our lecturer was saying, you don't want to risk losing your listeners. There are over 20 radio stations in the city. If people find out that you're slanted to one side of the public because you want to make money, they go another station where they feel say they give them dispassionate news items. So I'm going to give you a practical example. This is the political season. Maybe the PDP comes up with a press statement and they say see, and that press statement may negatively indict the APC, but they are paying for this story. And the company says, look, if we add this money, they come in, fine, you don't reject the story, but then the professional instinct of the people in the newsroom will kick in. What happens? PDP talk, say APC chairman steal money, blah, blah, blah. The story goes, but then you try to balance the story. The people in charge of the newsroom put a call through to the APC people. I'm not going to see you. PDP come up with this story, you say on a thief money, waiting on our own response. It is absolutely fantastic for the neutral. You put it in the court of public opinion for them to judge. Oh boy, nah, this radio station too much. They say Wike talk, say APC thief money. See the APC chairman now don't correspond. Oh boy, now I'll give you another example before I hand over to the lecturer. Last year, I was at home and I got a call from my former boss, Honorable Boma Eyaye, Commissioner for Sports at the time. And he said, Sammy, I am coming to your radio station tomorrow. I said, God, calm down. He was like, no, Sammy, you work for me. You did they talk this kind of thing. I said, oh God, calm down. I don't understand what they talk. What was he talking about? That Kuku Peter side, who is an APC strongman, was on air on Classic FM the previous day. He said a lot of stuff about Governor Wike, about the PDP. Whether those things he said were true or are true or not, I don't know. I don't want to go into that. But the PDP now wanted a right of response. They came back to our own station where the Kuku talk, and they gave their own side of the story. I don't need to tell you, these things were not free. The Kuku paid, and Boma Eyaye, they paid for that. Money is coming into the coffers of the station. That's the source of revenue. But at the same time, they are giving the public what the public wants to get, which is balancing the story. You hear from this side, and you also hear from the other side. And boss, before I hand over to you, John Peters was saying something about soft and hard news. I know some of you are hearing about that for the very first time. Hard news is not the one that you put in the fridge that will get frozen. No. Soft news is not the one that is very soft, where you press them, they like fufu, where them do well. No. Hard news stories are those stories that have very, very serious undertones. You want to tell about Russia invading Ukraine, a war on the horizon. that is hard news. It is a story with a serious undertone. You want to tell me about inflation, about how things are so exorbitant, people cannot afford anything, and the country might ground to a halt financially, economically. That is hard news. Such, sort of stories. And then the soft news stories are those stories that, entertain. They have the light-hearted effect. Oh, you get one celebrity somewhere way cheat on her husband. What's that lady's name? I'm not there. Sweetheart, remind me, that lady in Lagos who they said later wanted to contest for the vice governorship. Or is it what's her name? The lady with glow now, one comedian
just use my name now. Don't worry, use my name.
Okay, I'll get her name. Those sort of stories that they make you smile. Those undertones. Like I know, say some of them now. You are going to say, oh, Ogasami wants to take Auntie Jennifer out for dinner tomorrow. In the soft news, I agree. I will take her out tomorrow. Anybody will want fight me, come and fight me. I'm in my house. Come and fight me. Boss, I've handed over to you.
Right. Hi, Ogasami. You have heard it though. You see, I'm so glad that you're here. The first time and last season, you were not here. And I was angry. But today, you don't really show me say in my voice. Thank you. He has done
explicitly. I was not here the last time. I didn't know that your face will not show. Now, as I saw your face, I wanted to go. As I saw your fine face, and now come and stay.
Okay. Yeah, so there you have it. Hard and soft news, typical of what he said. Political, international affairs, business news, inflation, aviation, those ones are hard news. Soft news, entertainment, celebrity, lifestyle news, those ones are the ones that you can consider soft news. Okay, thank you for that. We appreciate. Then, okay, I think someone has given you the name, saying Funke Akindele. Oh, wow. Okay.
Old age is a bad thing. Now, I'm not gonna enjoy.
Morrison Victoria says, okay, she's explaining the question. She said, you are in Nigeria and reporting to Chinese people like you are a correspondent, it's not correspondence. Correspondence is what you send. You as a person, you are the correspondent, right? So what you send could serve as a correspondence. All right, so like you are a correspondent to China, to the Chinese people, to the Chinese rather. Oh, well, that's good. That's fine. I don't think that should be a problem now. How about Chinese people say maybe they deliver reports from Nigeria, work from home, they'll pay in dollars. I beg, that offer is coming up, go. It doesn't have anything to do with proximity, okay? It has everything to do with international communication. Because I don't want to delve into that, but it has everything to do with international communication and the flow of information. So if that's what is coming to you, that you should report happenings in Nigeria, report to China, then that's fine. It has everything to do with international communication and it has nothing to do with proximity, all right? Don't let the place you're reporting from stop you. And if you must even report about proximity, then report the ones that you're seeing there that affects your people and that you think would concern them, gray areas that you think they should come and tap from. Yeah, that's what you can leverage on. Okay. Kenneth West is still there, Abby. Now you just talk finish now.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the soft and hard news, but Ogasami has said it all. But what I want to say is that the hard news tends to arouse the curiosity in the consumer more than the soft news. For example, now, if a news broke out that the PDP, the presidential primary has been overturned and they have to do a new primaries, that's a hard news because the consumer will want to give more attention to that kind of news than whereby they will give a report where someone will win the Nigerian what is it called? That reality TV show that they used to do.
Big Brother.
Yeah. So if a news comes in that somebody has won the competition, that tends to be a soft news because there will be no much curiosity from the side of the consumer to give attention. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kenneth, for your standpoint of view. I must say, what you said is very typical of news people, but I want to also differ in a way, because you said hard news is likely to stir up the interest of the people, and you likened it to the PDP primaries and the rest, and side by side, soft news, you likened to Big Brother Nigeria. I want to shock you to say that, okay, I want to ask, if what you said is entirely how it plays out, then why do we have more funds, more revenues generated from the entertainment programs? You hear that how many millions, how many billions, from an entertainment program, but the so-called political news that you think is stirring up people and having more attention doesn't attract so much funds. So my point is, I think the both of them attract just the required attention that they both desire. Okay, for persons who are interested in politics, they would always be interested in politics. Anywhere they hear it, they'll be interested. For the ones who are not, even if the whole world is coming to a crash and this Big Brother they want to watch, they will still watch. All right. And what you said now is the reason why we keep having this head or we have loggerheads sometimes with entertainers or the entertainment industry per se. They think that news wants to belittle them. They want to make them second fiddle. So there's been an opinion recently that everyone have their own audience. We have our different audiences, and we do not want to make it look like, the news or the political news is more important. All right. So I would just like to clarify that. But what you said is entirely true. Okay. But just to sound more, again, we are grooming ourselves to be more people oriented and more diplomatic. You don't just say that it's politics people are interested in. They'll tell you who politics help. Young people watch entertainment. They watch Big Brother. See how much they are generating in just a day. How much politics they generate like that, So I think that they both have their own audiences, and then that's how it works. Thank you. This one says, Ma, does it mean a sports news can be categorized as hard news? All right, Agasami is here. Agasami.
It's a good question. There are some
Yes.
sports stories that are not exactly soft. Some of them are soft, some are not so soft. I've seen situations where people cried when I was reading the news. I've actually cried when reading a news story. It had to do with an individual known as Emiliano Sala. Emiliano Sala was playing for a French football club known as Nantes, and then he completed a move to a Premier League club in England known as Cardiff City, and he was making a trip from France to the UK to have his medical, but he was traveling in a very dilapidated, for lack of a better word, aircraft. And to cut the long story short, the aircraft actually crashed. Emiliano Sala died. So that isn't soft news at all. But there have also been some, sports stories that are not so, hard contextually. So yes, you can't generalize when you talk about sports. Sports is huge. You can't generalize. So there can be hard news stories in the sports world. You can also have soft news stories. So you can't generalize as far as sports is concerned. Just like when you talk about the Funke Akindele thing, and you talk about Ukraine being invaded by Russia, those are stories that can be read by Jennifer Emejuru if she's, for instance, in the Wazobia FM studios, the Cool FM studios, when she's reading the news. So the newscaster who is giving the major news bulletin can talk about hard news stories and can also talk about soft news stories. So no individual can come out and say, oh, nah, news is all about hard news. No, it doesn't work that way, because you can have hard and you can have soft news stories. So when Fami Wejiya sits in front of the microphone at the Beats, it doesn't mean that everything he has to say, because his post is hard or soft. You can have soft, you can have hard news stories. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I think that Miss Martin now.
and I think that's what makes sports journalism very delicate and makes it even more complex than people think, because there'll be hard, there'll be soft. I think that's even what makes it more unique. All right. And yeah, Pagasami has answered that question for us. I'm not saying a word to that anymore. Thank you. God bless you. We have about how many more minutes? Pagasami, this is 1 hour, 30 minutes. Kelvin Wilson and Chikezie Chioma.
I was thinking it is a 1 hour class. So. But
Honestly,
me, I'm
you don't
enjoying.
talk.
Abeg, let's have 3 more hours. I'm enjoying this class. I beg.
No. Okay, we have two persons, two hands up. Kelvin Wilson and Chikeze Chioma. Please, your questions should just be direct. Some of us are joining with our phones, and so that we can charge phone, Pico. So we'll just take these two questions. Kelvin, no, Chioma will go first. Chioma will go first, and then Kelvin, your hands have been up. Let it remain up, I beg. Then Chioma will go, Kelvin will go. So Chioma, over to you. Your question. Please, short, simple, concise, straight to the point. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Sorry, it wasn't a question, but I wanted to answer the question somebody asked about sports being either soft or hard, but my boss has already done that. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate your contribution still. All right. So Calvin Wilson, over to you now.
Thank you very much. Please, my
Who is this person now with your bad phone? Go and get a new phone. You buy 5,000 naira phone and come here and disturb all of us. Yeah? Electric is shocking your phone. Bro, see what you do. On a very serious note, we can't hear you very clearly. So what you do, I said this thing earlier. If you're just mute your mic, please. If you can hear me, just mute your mic. I was trying to say we can't hear you very clearly. I don't know. Can you mute your mic for a second, please? Some persons are not muting their mics. Okay, what I was trying to say if you're in a noisy environment, you know you're in a noisy area, you can mute yourself. You don't need to ask a question or via the audio. You can use the chat section. I know that John Peters asked the question via chat. I know that Tony asked a question from the chat box. The questions will be treated so that we have a seamless session. Maybe it's network, maybe it's the quality of your phone. It's not a problem. We're all here to learn, but everybody can indeed put his or her question through. But if you're in a noisy place, it's going to affect us. If you know that you have issues with your microphone or with your phone, it's going to be difficult for us to get what you're saying. So what you do in that situation, like my brother who was talking now, we couldn't hear you clearly. You know that there's an issue with your network or your phone or something. Just go to the chat box and then the class captain or the lecturer will take it up from there. Okay. Ada, lecturer.
Okay, sir. Yes. So are we going to allow him to type his question, or we just bring this session to a close? What do you think? Because over here, I think we have exhausted a lot of areas in just this session. So, and we have so many more to go, so many more speakers. So let's not overflog issues. Let's, my boss here. Hello?
Yeah, boss, were you talking to me or somebody else?
Okay, are we there? So with the permission of my boss, no, sir, I'm sorry, I had a little hitch. I had a little glitch over here, but I'm back. So I was saying that we've spent about an hour, 35 minutes on this class. So with your permission and our class rep and every other person who have been a part of this session, I would like to call it a day and appreciate everyone that stayed through from 5 p.m. and every other person who have questions, but we cannot hear from you because of some issues or the one issue or the other. We hope that another time we would meet again and we'll talk about something else on a bigger platform. Maybe one person might be doing something big, something huge, and we'd always get to talk and brainstorm. I've learned so much from everybody. I must say, I've learned so much. This last question, this one here, if Ogasami was not here, I would have said I would mail the answers to everybody. But yes, I have learned a lot from that person and every other person. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Ogasami, for having me here. Thank you so much, the next media stars. And I appreciate and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, boss, just before you go, guys, I know a lot of us are tired. Let me do that. I promise you guys in 2 minutes we're out of here. Let me do something unconventional. I like doing unconventional things. Olisa, let Olisa is my child. So Olisa will always say the things that I want to hear. I just want to pick randomly. Adekunle, please unmute your mic. I couldn't hear from Adekunle earlier. Let me hope his mic. Adekunle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm actually commuting back from work.
Okay, brilliant. No problem. Let's do it very quickly. Adekunle, you were in this morning's class, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can tell you.
Oh, this Adekunle's phone is a problem. Okay, Olisa, unmute your mic, please. Olisa always has great network and has a great phone. Olisa, which of the classes did you enjoy?
Yes, sir.
More? Which one you were here in the morning? Which one?
I enjoyed this one, sir. I'm not gonna lie. This one.
Okay, see. Okay, fantastic. Why did it? If I ask everybody who was in the morning's class and this evening's class, they will say they enjoyed this evening's class more. Now, I'm not trying to do a comparison thing. No, far from it. The person we teach for morning is a South African. He's well traveled. He's visited all over the world. Auntie Jennifer, na Port Harcourt girl, na Omo Niger, but we enjoyed her more. Proximity is a beautiful thing. She talked about that. We can relate to. Oh God, Auntie Jennifer, you were wonderful. Who tell you say good thing if you come out from Port Harcourt? We celebrate you. You were absolute. Look, I have 3,250 naira in my account. I will go. I don't know how much POS go charge me. I will withdraw that tomorrow. We are going out for dinner. Once no, I'm serious. I'll take you out. You're wonderful.
Okay, sir. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so fantastic. So before we go, it was a great class this evening. Let's keep the fire burning. We'll have 2 classes tomorrow. I won't let the cat out of the bag. The graphics guys are working behind the scenes. Everything is sorted out. I'm going to post before the end of today. That's our tradition. I'll post in the group the 2 classes we have. We have a morning class, we have an evening class, and hopefully, I don't know if anything can actually top what Auntie Jennifer has done today. But look, the guys and the ladies, whatever, I won't let the cat out of the bag. But the lecturers for tomorrow are top drawer individuals. That's what we're trying to do for you. We're bringing only the best to lecture you guys. Like a lot of you saw today, Ozo of Big Brother Niger is going to lecture us. And trust me, it's not the biggest name who's going to be lecturing. I will not, again, I'm using that phrase again, I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. We've been doing this for years. This is the 6th season, and we always try to make it bigger each year. I know a lot of you, some people have been sending me DMs like, Ogasami, we know how busy you are, but you've been with your phone all through today. I've not rested. I've been making calls. I've been putting messages through to people, sending emails, just to make sure that you guys get nothing but the best. And I say again to you, like I said in the briefing, you can take the horse to the stream. You can't force it to drink. I've pledged, I've put my body, my blood, so to speak, into this thing. I guarantee you guys that you're always going to get the best in terms of the lecturers who will lecture, the radio, TV stations where we're going to go to visit for the excursions. But I beg of you, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what these lecturers do. If you guys don't commit yourself to this thing, nothing will come out. So I beg you, it's not just, Gasam will make you proud. No, what do you do when Mr. Sami is not watching? I was complaining today in the group about people posting messages 3 minutes before the time. Look, I'm a perfectionist, I understand. But one of my bosses will say to me, if you aim for the sky, you will shoot higher than the rooftop. Raise your standards high. Make them complain. Say, ask yourself, how come Mr. Sami is always relevant? For over 20 years, he's always there. It's not normal. Because it comes in cycles. People come, they go. But this man is always there, always at the top. What does he do? So I want you people not just to do what I do, but to do better than I do. Like I told you yesterday, the next 1 month is going to be extremely challenging. But look, don't run away. Don't. I was telling Bumi, Bumi, can you unmute your mic, please? Bumi, just unmute your mic for a second. Bumi, can you hear me? Bumi has left the room. Bumi, can you hear me? Okay, let me say this because we're family. I'm actually on drugs as I speak. I didn't leave my house. I'm very sick because I broke down. But the good thing about me is it doesn't matter how sick I am. It doesn't show. You will never know based on how I talk. It doesn't show in my voice. That's one gift I have from God. I'm on medication, but I'm not deterred. And hey, I don't want anybody to come and tell me sorry. But I'm just telling you the extremes I'm going to see that you guys get the best. And by the grace of God, I won't slow down for the next 1 month to see that you guys get the best. Please, whenever we have classes, now this evening, I'm going to put up the graphics of the 2 lectures we're going to have tomorrow. Do me a favor. You will see the topics we're going to have tomorrow. You will see the lecturers. Go and do your background check on the lecturers. What kind of people are they? What are the things that they like? What are the things they don't like? What are the classes? What are the papers they've delivered in the past? That topic they're talking about, what exactly is it? Go and read. See, you guys all have smartphones. Be prepared. I love the person who asks about hard and soft news. Get your questions and script those questions based on what the lecturer is going to talk about. So that by the time the lecturer says, do you have questions? You already have those questions at your fingertips. You already have the answers. And by the time the lecturer is giving you the answer, you're even fuller than you were before. Do the hard work. Do the research. Don't just wait for the lecturer to come and give. Be prepared before the lecturer comes. The best questions are the questions that are scripted. I don't want to hear, Oga, this or that. No, sir. What do you mean by hard and soft news? Sir, in 1965, this is what the American, script your questions and it makes you the best. And look, I was heartbroken that the lecturer would come to class before some people. Not pure like that now. If not me, they teach, I come class, everybody know that ask people who know me. That's the end of that class. So me, I go come class, student come. No, this Jennifer is a good girl now. I come to class, then after my student come. He won't do that with me. Because I will sacrifice everything to give you guys the best. So why can't you reciprocate and respect me? It's not just me, respect your lecturers as well. We've talked too much for one day. I will let everybody go. Ada, you get the lecturer's Twitter handle and send it to me immediately. And please, I put up a post on Ozo. He has not even lectured. That tweet is going viral. I read the messages, the interactions on that tweet. Now from Ozo fans, now they retweet, now them they talk, now then they engage the tweet. Person waiting for Lagos. But our own here, we will not celebrate our own. No, charity begins at home. Our lecturer has done an amazing job for us. So I want to beg, this one I beg on her. She's going to give me her Twitter handle. I'll put up that her Twitter handle and the flyer of what she did today on my Twitter account. I'll put the link on in the group. I beg us all, let us click that link, go to that tweet, engage it, like, retweet, and please let's follow our lecturer and say some kind words to her. Please, we've talked enough for one day. Thank you everybody for your time. I'll see you guys in the group. Unless somebody else has a question. Does anybody have a question for me? I beg, may nobody ask you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Bye, bye-bye.
Bye.